Hello fiber friends, I have been promising a 3-ply video tutorial and here it is, ta-da! This colorful, vibrant braid is on Targhee and it's called Rainbow Mountain from LCB. It's not sponsored, she didn't send me this, I bought this because it's gorgeous and I had to have it. But I also thought that this would be great for a 3-ply video tutorial because Candy Mountain needs to be candy striped. You'll be able to see where the plies come together. All right, let's take this one apart. Here we go. Just find the end where it is chained up together and then pull, 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 pull. So I have this folded over here into 3 lengths, and if I slide on down, I can kind of line it up down here and see on the other end, which is popping around and slipping out of my hand. There we go. Split the braid right here and then split it again at the other end. Doesn't this look like candy? You know what this reminds me of? This makes me think of a snow cone. This is exactly the color of a snow cone. And here's a little tip for you. If you notice that the end of a braid is cut, that's not unusual. You can pull the end off and that way you don't get those little short bits where the fiber was cut and you are ready to start spinning. Each of these little bundles is going to be 1 bobbin of yarn. I'm going to start one braid from the darker colored end. I'll start another braid from the lighter color end, and I think that'll ensure that we get all different candy stripey colors going throughout. All 3 bobbins are spun up and I'm ready to ply. There are a lot of different lazy Kates that you can use to ply your yarn, and you can even make one yourself, sticking a dowel through your bobbins and putting them in a shoebox or in a laundry basket. Works just fine. This lazy Kate is the one that came with the Lendrum double treadle, and it's a little fancy. So I want to show you the little feature that this one has. It is a tensioned lazy Kate. That means we can run this. It's just a cotton yarn. It keeps everything nice and straightened out, and it can help prevent those little curly cues and prevent these from just wildly spinning and having the yarn sort of barf off of the bobbin before it's ready to get into the ply. There are ways that you can tension homemade lazy Kates or other lazy Kates just by tying strings around them to slow it down a little bit. But if you have a lazy Kate that doesn't have tensioning, I have another one that doesn't. They still work just fine. You can use your hands to tension the yarn as you ply. As I was spinning these 3 bobbins, I had the drive band over the smallest diameter whorl. That gave me a faster spin. For plying, I don't need this one to be quite as fast, so I'm going to adjust it to the largest whorl. And that means that as I treadle, it will put less twist into the yarn than it would on the smaller diameter, and that's what I want to ply. While I get this lazy Kate set up, I'll tell you I'm a little bit nervous about how this is going to turn out, and the reason is because there is nothing for exposing your consistency like plying with multiple colors of yarn. This will definitely show if my yarn is consistent or not, and there's no hiding. I'd like to talk about plying while I'm plying and give you a couple tips that are going to help you spin a consistent plied yarn. One tip would be that you want to make sure each of the 3 plies is coming together at the same rate. I have everything separated here and equally tensioned. That's a big help. If you don't have a way to tension your lazy Kate, you can do it with your other hand like this. I just threaded each of the plies coming into this yarn between a finger, and then I can kind of grip down, and it doesn't have to be a death grip. We're not hanging off a cliff for dear life. We're just slowing down the yarn so that they're all equally tensioned. When you have multiple plies, especially of multiple colors, it's very visual. As you'll see in a moment when I have this finished and take it off of the bobbin, it's a very visual yarn. You can look at it and see exactly how the twist angle moves across the yarn. And if you have sections that pooled up with more twist, it's noticeable. So that means if you're practicing your plying, if you're practicing your consistency, this is a great yarn. Don't let that scare you. It is exposing, but you can use that to your advantage and you can learn from it or appreciate it. Maybe it's awesome and you're proud of yourself and you can show everyone because you can say, look at my yarn. It's beautiful. If you do that, tag me. I'd love to see it. Ooh, I just went the wrong way, which brings me to another point. You do not want to ply your singles the same direction you spun them. You'll end up with a mess. Ask me how I know. One of the keys to quickly plying a balanced yarn is to have consistent singles. If you know how much twist is in your singles, then you can find the right balance between treadle and the distance of yarn that you put together into the ply to get a balanced yarn. Let me show you what balance in your plied yarn looks like. If you pull some of the yarn off of your bobbin, you should be able to let it dangle in sort of a horseshoe shape, and you can see if it starts to fold over on itself, then it's not balanced. If it hangs straight, then it's perfectly balanced. If you are over twisting your yarn, then you need to increase your tension and let the yarn feed onto the bobbin faster. That means it has less time to gather extra energy. If you don't have enough twist in your yarn, then you will need to let it spend more time off of the bobbin before it goes onto the wheel, because this is where the twist is entering into the yarn. So right now, as I get started, I am looking for that balance between how much treadling, how much distance to give me a nice balanced yarn. So let's check, let's take a look. And that is about perfect. It's just dangling there. It's not flooping around in one way or the other. This has too much twist. So I am going to pull a little of it out because I want to correct this and give it some more length from the plies so that the twist can travel up and even out. There. Now it's hanging straight. So if you catch yourself with too much or too little twist as you are going along, it is not too difficult to correct it if you catch it quickly. And let's do a little bit where we have too little twist. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so let's pull that off. And now we'll fold that over. And this is too little twist. It is sort of looking a little bit separated. So to correct it when it's under plied, you add more twist. So I pull some out and give it a few more treadles and then pull some out. There we go. And then check it and let that twist sort of travel along and spread out. There we go, a few more treadles. Getting there. And a few more treadles. There we go. All right, so now it's hanging nicely. Another good thing to keep in mind when you are plying is that all of the yarn on your bobbins is going to come together into one bobbin. So you might want to make sure that you have room. Some wheels have options for larger bobbins to accommodate having more yarn come together when you ply. But if, like I'm doing here, you're using the same size bobbin that you're plying 3 from, I simply didn't fill these all the way. so I'm fairly certain that they will fit onto this 4th bobbin. Just something to keep in mind. It is a lot of fun to watch these colors change as they come through. This is a really pretty yarn. It's a good idea as you're spinning along to check and make sure your balance is coming out how you want it to. Don't only check it at the beginning and then ignore it for the rest of the skein. You might pull your skein off of your bobbin and realize that you have something horribly under-twisted or over-twisted. It's good to check as you go, but should the worst happen and you end up with something that's completely over-plied with too much twist, or the other way, under-plied and not enough twist, you can actually put it back through your wheel. That's right. Adjust your wheel, go the direction you need, whether removing or adding twist to the plied yarn, and put it on your biggest whirl so that it's nice and slow. You can control how much goes in and just re-ply it, so to speak, and you can add or you can remove twist this way. If you have any of those hard little curlicues where it got a little too much twist and that gets into the plied yarn, make sure you smooth that out, because once it's in there, it's too late. Of course, spinners have varying opinions of how they like their yarn to be. There's nothing wrong with a 2-ply yarn. If that's your jam, then you ply away. But why would we use a 3-ply yarn? Well, the point is that when you have 3 yarns coming together, as opposed to 2 yarns coming together, it makes a more round shape of the yarn. If you were to slice it and look at it head on, you're gonna see more of a rounded shape with those 3 plies coming together. 3-ply yarns are also more sturdy than 2-ply yarns if it's going to have abrasion, such as socks. Because less surface area of each individual fiber is exposed, and because more of it is trapped up in the twist, it makes it harder for those individual fibers to work their way out, which would cause pilling, and it makes it more difficult for it to wear out. It gives it strength. It is excruciatingly rare that all of your bobbins are going to finish at the same time. And as you can see, the one in the middle here, I'm up to the leader, but I still have bobbin 1 and 3 to go. So you have options what to do. Well, for this project, I am going to tie a little loop in the yarn, but then I'm going to continue plying these 2 bobbins together. And the point of that is going to be because I would like to compare this yarn as a 2-ply with this yarn as a 3-ply. I think this yarn is amazing and I want to make a whole sweater out of it. Check this out. It's so pretty. And then here is the 2-ply. So let me just hang that on there. You can see how they look different. This is the 2 on top, right here. You can kind of see how they're different. The thing I noticed while I was wrapping them, which I know is going to be a thing when I pull this off, is that this, because it's the 3 together, it has much more stretch and bounce in it than the 2-ply does. The 2-ply is a little more drapey. And this was spun in a worsted style, so that is gonna make a more drapey kind of yarn, but still wool always has that sort of springy, oh dear, there we go. Wool always kind of has those springy characteristics, but it does gain more of that bounce when it is in a 3-plied construction. So that might be something else to consider if you're debating whether you want a 2-plied yarn or a 3-plied yarn. How much stretch and bounce do you want? Which would be great for a garment like a sweater like this, but maybe not so great for something like warp if you're weaving. Things to consider. If you're interested in seeing a video about thwacking yarn to finish it, which is what I will be doing with this, and the details about why I do that, go check that video out next. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more spinning content. All right, friends, I'll see you in the next one. Happy spinning!